Hey guys, it's RV here. And last week I shared with you guys the most underrated tool of writing being silence. And I shared with you that it was the small moments, the quiet moments that really stuck to readers. So, this week I would like to break down a chapter that should not have worked, but did, and why it did work. When writing Blue Lights, I took a risk on an early chapter. Chapter 4 to be exact. You see, there's this piece of writing advice that almost every writer has heard at one point or another. Don't let dialogue run too long because it causes readers to skim. Because attention drops. And because if nothing is happening, the readers will turn the page. And in chapter 4 of Blue Lights, I did something that technically broke this rule. You see, the entire chapter was essentially one conversation. Just one. Just 3 guys on a porch in the rain talking. That's it. Yet, it became the most loved chapter of Act 1. Now, why this worked? This chapter is not something that dramatically drives the plot forward. There's no explosions or confessions, but it deepens everything. And a deepening chapter doesn't necessarily need major events. It needs tension under the surface. And this tension lives in 3 places: subtext, environment, and emotional shifts. Starting with subtext. On the surface, Willie, the character, is telling a story of his youth about a friend and the process of being just friends. But the real tension isn't Willie's story. It's the reaction of the 2 main characters, Dante and Major. The glances, the swallowing lumps down the back of your throat. The moments when Dante refuses to look at Major again. And then the moments when he can't help but to look at Major again. That's where the chapter actually lives, in their reactions. Because emotional truth isn't always spoken. Sometimes it's reacted to. Now on to environmental storytelling. Honestly, I can make a whole video about this. One day I will. Because environmental storytelling is such a key factor in storytelling. So many times people just include details that don't need to be there. And sometimes they don't include details that could deepen a story so much. Anyhow, I'll make a video about that one day. Not today. But in the sense of being able to create a chapter in which the dialogue runs long, or you initially just have one character telling a story throughout the entirety of the chapter, environmental storytelling is a necessary component. Here is what really holds the story together. It's not necessarily the dialogue. The dialogue is important. Please, if you have a character who's speaking throughout the entire chapter, make the dialogue good. Probably need to make another video about dialogue and voice, although that's such a tough topic because every character is supposed to sound different. Anywho, the thing that holds the chapter together is not just the dialogue, but the environment. In this chapter, it's raining. It's raining cats and dogs, but the rain is not decoration. It isolates them and causes the scene to be a lot more intimate. Because now the characters are trapped together. In this chapter, Willie, the good-hearted homeless man of the block, is camped out on the porch of an abandoned house between the homes of Dante and Major, the two main characters. And this abandoned house represents a lot in the story, but in this moment, it holds a mirror up to Willie and his story and the effects of abandonment and where it leads to. Willie's abandonment, because of who he was, left him alone and breaking and uncared for. And the same thing is going on with that house. Alone, broken, and uncared for. Then there's the lightning. This is emotional illumination. The lightning may feel random, but strikes at key moments and brings light to a story, to a moment that is currently in darkness. So you may think that it's just raining. It's just lightning and thunder. Or you may not even consider weather in a story. But please think of the storytelling aspects that can be built up by environment. Because rain is more than just water coming down from the sky. Lightning is more than just an act of nature. Shaking winds is more than just the wind in the trees rattling. It can mean something to the story if you let it. And in times when you have a story being told for a long period of time, you need these environmental factors to help push the story along in between acts of dialogue, to keep the story progressing without losing the reader in giant chunks of dialogue on a page. And finally, emotional shift. This chapter is used for foreshadowing. Though the characters may not understand it, the readers do. It's something that shifts the emotional levels of pretty much everything and everything you read after this and every interaction you see between the two main characters, Dante and Major. Before this chapter, readers may have suspicions. But after this chapter, if you pay close enough attention, not only to the dialogue being told, but to the subtext, to the environment around. It feels like confirmation for an idea that you've had since page 4. You see, because Willie's story is not just being told for backstory, to deepen his character. It's used as prophecy. It's something that the boys deny out loud, though the denying is not very convincing. And readers feel the weight of that. And foreshadowing works best when the reader understands it, but the characters do not. And foreshadowing works best when the characters do not recognize it, but the readers do. Readers, they don't always fall in love with explosions. They fall in love with recognition, with quiet, with moments that make them feel like someone is telling them the truth, softly. This chapter shows risk without action. It shows love without confession. It shows danger without immediate consequences. It's an intimate feeling. It's an intimate moment that the reader is invited in on. And that intimacy builds loyalty. So if you want to write a chapter that is mostly dialogue, so if you want to write a chapter that is mostly one long conversation, please remember these things. That dialogue alone is fragile. But dialogue layered with environment is immersive. Let the environment interrupt. Let silence sit. Let reaction carry meaning. Don't explain the emotions. And please, let subtext do the heavy lifting. The quiet chapters. They are risky. They're slow. They're soft. They're vulnerable. But they're the ones readers remember. Not because something is happening, but because something shifts. Sometimes the most powerful moment in a story isn't forward, but inward. And you have to be brave enough to let your characters sit in that stillness. And if you do it right, the readers, they'll sit there with them. So slow down. Check your surroundings. And listen to your inner monologue. I think next week I want to share with you the chapter in which I'm speaking of. I'm not the world's greatest reader. I do have can't even say the word. I do have dyslexia. So reading out loud is a bit of a challenge for me, as I say, as a writer and high school English teacher. It's It's cool. We can do hard things. But just so you can see what I'm talking about when I share with you the effects of this chapter. For now, thank you for watching. If you made it this far, might as well subscribe, like, comment, do your thing. And peace out, my inner circle.